In the vast expanse of the universe, where the dance of creation and dissolution unfolds, lies the path of the soul's evolution, a journey of profound transformation, discovery, and enlightenment. In this show and the one following it, we're going to explore not only the five stages of soul evolution, but also what lies beyond. I invite all of you to explore the intricate tapestry of spiritual growth from the initial stirrings of consciousness to the ultimate realization of unity with the cosmos. Hello, all. This is Dr. Bruce, welcoming you to yet another episode of the Spiritual Hitchhiker's Practical Guide to the Afterlife and Beyond, done as part of the Past Life Explorers official Reincarnation, Past Lives, and the Afterlife Facebook community. By the way, you might have noticed the name change, which was done just about a week and a half ago. In today's show, and the one following it, we will embark on an extraordinary voyage across the five pivotal stages that chart the soul's progress. Each episode is a portal to understanding the lessons, challenges, and triumphs that define our spiritual journey. From the initial awakening to the challenges of growth, the lessons of love, and the ultimate return to unity. These shows will offer a comprehensive look at the spiritual journey that transcends lifetimes and illuminate the path of spiritual evolution like never before. So, prepare to be inspired, challenged, and transformed as we uncover the mysteries of the soul's journey, your guide to the ultimate adventure of soul discovery and spiritual awakening. I had originally planned this as one show, but as I was putting the show together, I realized that there was probably too much information to cram into one show, so I decided to break it into two parts. This will also give you a chance to review it before we move on to part two next week. You'll be able to find the recording of this episode right here in the group and also on my YouTube channel, the address of which you'll find here in the comment section. I've got all the other lives we've done as part of that Spiritual Hitchhiker series on various topics, along with a whole set of interviews, which you'll also find on the YouTube channel. By the way, it would be much appreciated if you'd go on over there to the YouTube channel, take a look around, and please subscribe to it. It won't cost you a dime, and you might learn something and even be entertained in the process. So let's get down to the subject at hand, the stages of soul evolution. As has been suggested by those of the spiritual, metaphysical community, all human beings are, in reality, spiritual beings on a journey. We reincarnate in human form in order to evolve as souls. We're here to know ourselves and be all we can be, step by step by step. Our ultimate aim, as many feel, is to end the cycle of reincarnation and in doing so, become one with the Creator, Source, universal consciousness, or whatever it is you choose to call it. It's a long journey, but that's okay. There's no meter running. The soul is eternal, and our limited human perception of time means nothing to the soul. There's no urgency for us to become enlightened or to complete our cycles of reincarnation. It's no better to evolve quickly over a few lives than it is to evolve slowly over many lives. Reincarnation is not a race to reach the end of evolution as quickly as possible. We're not caught in the cycle of human death and rebirth. The physical world isn't a hellhole to be climbed out of. God's not looking at his watch and wishing we could get a move on. From the perspective of spirit, there's no passage of time. Time is just a perceptual phenomenon for us while we're here in the physical form. Souls literally don't care how many thousands of years it takes to get from one level of reincarnation to another. The passage of time in human terms is, to the soul, totally irrelevant. Now, the soul's journey is really a process of evolution, and you can compare it to the stages of metamorphosis we see in nature, such as an egg, caterpillar, chrysalis, and butterfly. Reincarnation, though, along with the changes in the physical, that's a new body, there are also changes in growth in the mode of consciousness and self-awareness. Some might liken it to Darwin's theory of evolution that we all learned back in high school, albeit on a spiritual as opposed to a biological level. So rather than evolving physically, for the soul it means growing in consciousness, steadily progressing through different levels or stages of consciousness via our incarnations in physical form. So, to recapitulate the premise, all souls are on a mission to evolve, grow and develop through their own experiences, efforts, and choices. To evolve as a soul is to become increasingly self aware and self capable as a unique expression of spirit. By evolving, the soul changes in its level of beingness and consciousness, from newborn innocence to greater and greater levels of love, power, and wisdom. In effect, after eons of evolution, that which is created rejoins the Creator, Source, or universal consciousness. Ah, but why, you may ask? Why not just evolve as fat, dumb, and happy spirits without having to traverse physical lifetimes that are sometimes filled with pitfalls, roadblocks, trials, tribulations, and sorrows, along with joy, triumph, satisfaction? Well, you know the old saying, only God knows, and he's not telling. That's how the grand exalted Poobah, in charge of this entire process, designed it. It's not ours to reason why. It's simply ours to, well, you know the rest of it. So let's not belabor the point. According to spiritual thinkers, we are all going through different stages of evolution as we reincarnate and live out our various lives. The belief is that we pass through 5 stages as we incarnate on Earth: infant, baby, young, mature, and old. By having a deeper understanding of the stage we're in, we can focus more on what it is we're here to do. That is to say, our life purpose, and gain a deeper understanding of what might drive some of our actions and beliefs. Now, to further complicate matters, there is a doctrine which holds that within the 5 stages of soul evolution, there are 35 steps, 7 steps per stage, in the reincarnation process. Now, I didn't make this up. In 1979, San Francisco area novelist by the name of Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough published the first in a series of 4 books. Among other things, these books contained an entirely new way of understanding personality and spirit. This new body of knowledge wasn't hers, though. In fact, it had been channeled, so she said, over several years from a mysterious entity known only as Michael, described by believers as a group soul, a collective consciousness of 1,050 essences. Now known as the Michael Teachings, it's a non-theistic spiritual doctrine that endorses reincarnation and attempts to work out a system of personality structures that souls choose to experience in each given lifetime. As with other New Age systems, the Michael Teachings believe in soul ages. So let's take a look at these stages and the characteristics of those persons going through each particular stage as articulated by the Michael Teachings and those who have made relevant observations and interpretations regarding it, myself included. We'll examine the personality characteristics of souls at each stage, what forces drive them, what they are tasked or meant to learn, and we shall also consider the question of when the soul is ready to move on to the next stage. Now, you might even see aspects of friends, relatives, spouses, lovers, associates, even public figures as we do this. And of course, You're probably going to see yourself in these descriptions. I might add that those who counsel others or do therapeutic work might also find what follows very helpful in understanding their clients. If you're working with someone who is at the baby stage, for example, it might explain why they're so rigid by understanding that they haven't yet fully developed empathy and the capacity to accept all points of view. This also gives us a deeper understanding of those people in our life that we may know and interact with on a daily basis. An important caveat applies here, though. As we look at these, and as you attempt to draw parallels to yourself or others, as I know you most certainly will, as I did when I first learned these, you may feel that you are in a particular stage of soul evolution. Yet also feel that you, or others, display certain characteristics more applicable to another stage. And that's to be expected. You see, souls and the people they inhabit are highly individualistic. After all, we're only human. Everyone, regardless of what rung of the spiritual evolutionary ladder they're on, will have certain traits, behaviors, characteristics, oddities, idiosyncrasies that are decidedly invariants to that particular stage. Yin and yang applies at any stage. There are no absolutes. That being said, and with the understanding that there are progressive levels within each stage, those souls at a particular stage will always exhibit a preponderance of the traits and behaviors characteristic of that particular stage. So with this in mind, let's begin. And we begin with the infant stage. Now, during this stage, we focus on issues of survival, like shelter, life, death, learning how to control impulses. Infant souls often live on the fringes of society, without loving guidance from older souls who teach them the difference between right and wrong. Infant souls may then react violently to perceived threats and they'll lash out physically. Some may even be deemed to be psychopathic or have some sort of developmental disorder. Psychologically, they're naive, they're impulsive, they act on impulse or habit with little or no regard for consequences. Because they lack both social understanding and self-inhibition, they're capable of committing antisocial or even immoral acts without any sense of wrongdoing or regret. The infant soul's experience of life is simple and what can only be described as earthy and primitive. Usually those who are at this stage aren't frequently found in mainstream society. They kind of tend to incarnate in environments closer to nature, like rural or tribal, where the options of life are simpler and they can focus their energies on physical survival and the natural environment. They're often outcasts. They feel overwhelmed by the choices of modern society because of their inability to fit in, quote unquote. However, you will occasionally find these souls in cities. The reason being that they might be preparing to evolve to the next stage. In other words, they might be at the end of that stage's development, so they need to get a feel for what it's like to interact and integrate into a larger society. People that are currently working through this infant stage will have a harder time regulating themselves. They're impulsive in nature, prone to violence. They may be more likely to be antisocial and sometimes turn their violent tendencies to murder because they haven't yet figured out how to fit into society. Mass murderers, serial killers are generally infant souls. These people are simply following their whims. They have little understanding of themselves, morality, or how they fit into society as a whole. All souls, regardless of age, have something to learn. This is an intrinsic part of the soul's journey through eternity. Think of this as a homework or a learning assignment from the Creator. For indeed, that's exactly what it is. For the infant soul, this involves learning basic skills. For instance, how to regulate themselves and their needs, to understand what it is to be an individual. They're tasked with learning how an individual can have positive and negative impacts on those around them, and on the environment too, and also on society. They're learning what it is to be part of a family. Their primary life lesson before they are ready to move up the next rung on the ladder of soul evolution is to learn to regulate their impulses and to gain a basic understanding of morality and to realize the importance of being part of society. And next is the baby stage. I want you to think black and white here. Wrong is wrong, right is right, and never the twain shall meet. Now, after that helter-skelter, wild, wild west, no holds barred experiences of the infant stage, where we're so free with our actions and have no understanding of right and wrong, we then leap to the other extreme in the baby stage. Here we might become the proverbial stuffed shirt. We'll focus on conservative views and tradition. We find ourselves obsessed with structure and order, as well as safety and security. It's it's almost as if we're trying to make up for what might have gone down in the infant stage, where our focus was more on trying to feel safer. And we're trying to make up for this with behavior and a rigid belief system based on a specific code of ethics and morals, at least as they perceive them to be, whether this is a religious code or a legal code. Both their beliefs and their actions are largely rule bound. So you'll often find these people to be ultra conservative, traditionalist, orthodox, upright, moralistic, fundamentalist, religiously devout, always mindful of law and order. That said, they will occasionally give in to temptation or temper tantrums, and they'll break the rules themselves. But they might find themselves tortured with guilt and shame when they do that. They come across to older souls as rather square, conscientious, conventional, conformist. Baby soul communities tend to be highly principled and civilized. Think of the Amish and the Mennonite communities. They're acutely aware of the rights and wrongs of people's actions, including their own, though they have really little insight into the motives behind them. Bad behavior is sinful. Why? Because God said so. And that's that. End of story. You might find people in this stage participating in a religious order, a fundamentalist evangelical church, or political cause that has strict rules and moral ethics. They want and need to be in a place or situation that causes them to experience self-control and restraint. Now, these people are often drawn to a life based on law and order, religion, the military, ethnic tradition, or even a close-knit society, or as we said, religious sect. Focused as they are on bringing people together under the umbrella of civilization, or I should say, what their civilization, their perception of what civilization should be, they want others to be just like them. Mini-me's, in other words. They can become confused and upset when those mini-me's act differently than expected. Their experience of life is rule-based, rigid, dogmatic, family-oriented, and highly structured around adhering to the laws and mores of an institution or a culture. Baby souls are boundary builders. They have a strong sense of us versus them. They believe that by focusing on living up to their code or beliefs and doing everything to help us, they are living a good and sometimes righteous life. If people don't conform to their personal paradigms, they will routinely label them as wrong, bad, sinful, or even evil. The baby soul's learning assignment is how to balance their personal will with a greater collective will on how to best fit into society and help that society to succeed. Their primary life lesson before moving on to the next stage of soul evolution is that, sometimes rules are made to be broken. Going through successive levels in which everything is black and white, my way or the highway, when they learn to see the gray, they are then ready to move on to the next stage. So as they step from baby to young soul, they relinquish the strong expectation to live in accordance to society's expectations. And now they begin to focus on pursuing their own path, their own dreams, their own individual aspirations. Now on to the young stage. The soul that reaches the young stage, or young soul stage, wants to leave the rigid form conformity of the baby stage behind and focus totally on his or her own individuality. And that's an extreme leap. Because these people are success oriented. They set high standards of achievement for themselves. Their experience of life is competitive, industrious, independent, profit motivated, win lose, and they're in pursuit of anything that leads to power and prosperity. The world is their oyster, and they're going to eat the full dozen, at least. Financial success and power, often political power, is of paramount importance to these young souls. They're driven to put themselves out into the world to be the heroes of the stars. They not only want to see what they're made of, but they also want to see what the world is made of and how they show it to the world in a big, big way. They're quite competitive, so you'll often find these people in areas that focus on competition, athletics, sales, business, politics, and so forth. Young souls pursue power and success with a vengeance. They're generally attracted to some form of worldly success, fame, fortune, power, glory. In fact, these souls are more fearful of death than souls at any other stage. And those who aren't sure about life after death may be anxious to make a big impact on the world stage. They want to create some kind of symbolic immortality for themselves. Young souls tend to be extroverted, worldly, frenetically energetic, brash, competitive, political, ambitious, and individualistic. They're more ego-driven than personalities at any other soul stage. They want to prove themselves in the world at large. They like to think for themselves, assert their own opinions, follow their own agenda. They're past the my way is the only way or my way or the highway thinking of the baby stage. They do, however, approach life with a certainty that their way is by far the best way. They're driven to build things, to stand out, to do remarkable things. Now, these people are the quintessential entrepreneurs. They set their goals high. They often achieve remarkable feats of endeavor. These are the achievers who show us what's possible. They're focused on developing their own beliefs and perspectives, and also going after their dreams. In the baby stage, they live all their life according to societal norms. Now they're learning how to live their life according to themselves, their own norms. In other words, they're doing it my way. Young souls can be extremely vain. They fear aging, the natural decline of their bodies. They'll go to extreme lengths to preserve their appearance. Without them, cosmetic surgeons and Botox suppliers might well be out of business. The young soul's learning assignment is to understand what it is to be an individual and how to express oneself in the world. They come to know what it is to feel empowered and confident, to really see what's special about themselves and to pursue that with a vengeance. They want to know what it feels like to be the hero of their own lives. Their primary life lesson before moving on to the next stage is to see that others' perspectives are also valuable, and they're not the center of the universe. That is to say, there's more to the world than just their own needs and desires. When they've shifted from a me-first attitude into one where they see things from another's perspective, or they've taken to heart that old Cherokee proverb, never judge a person until you've walked a mile in their moccasins. When they experience and have mastered their pursuit of desires, and they understand the interconnection between each of us as a whole, as a unity. They're then ready to graduate to the next stage of soul evolution. But I'm going to leave you in suspense here and move on to that in the next show. I've intentionally kept this episode a little shorter than normal because I think I've given you an awful lot to digest. So if you'd like to, you can watch this again in preparation for the second episode in this series, which will be next week. You'll find the video recording of this show right here on the group page. You'll also find it on my YouTube channel. I'll have it posted there probably tomorrow. And you can find the link to the YouTube channel again here in the comments section and again at the top of this page in the featured section. So that just about wraps up things for this episode of the Spiritual Hitchhiker's Practical Guide to the Afterlife and Beyond. And a few things before we close. As many of you know, I recently created an online, on-demand, self-paced certification training program in past life regression and therapy. I invite those of you who are interested in pursuing a full or part-time practice in this field to check it out on my website, which is DrKaloski.com. Easy to remember. If it's something you think you might be interested in pursuing, then contact me and we can talk about it. By the way, because this is a brand spanking new program, I'm offering a special introductory price for a limited time. In the same vein, I'm also in the middle of creating a board certification training in clinical hypnotherapy, which will also be online, on demand, and self-paced. Hopefully it'll be ready by the middle of March. And just like I did with the past life regression training, I'll be looking for beta testers for that program, which means that I'll need people willing to take the course and, more importantly, give me feedback to help me work out the inevitable bugs. As with the past life regression training, it'll contain everything that'll be in the alpha version along with board certification. I'm going to offer that for an insanely low price to just a select number of people. So if you'd like your name put on the list to be notified when we're ready to rock and roll with a clinical hypnotherapy training, please let me know either here in the comments section or by DMing me or emailing me at drkaloski@gmail.com. Now, this will be on a first-come, first-served basis. And please be sure to leave an email address where you can be reached when that beta version does become ready. So on to our next show, which will be next Wednesday, February 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the topic will be part 2 of the stages of soul evolution. We'll be looking at stages 4 and 5, and even what lies beyond that. Yes, you heard right. It's like the TV commercials say, but wait, there's more. Now, you won't want to miss this one. That's Wednesday, February 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in the Past Life Explorers group. And tell your friends about us. Remember, they'll have to be a member to tune in. So until Wednesday, the 26th, and as always, this is Dr. Bruce wishing you happy hitchhiking and happy trails. See you in a week.